Hey YouTube, what's up? It's me, Wonder Bread. So, today's been a big day as far as football goes, as far as suspensions, and I'm sure you've all heard about the firing of Coach Ben Mcadoo and Jerry Reese, the GM for the New York Giants. So, let me just recap everything. First off, I'm going to go through the football scores. Thursday night, the Cowboys beat the Redskins 38-14. They had their first win since Zeke got suspended. The Jets beat the Chiefs 38-31, despite four touchdowns from Alex Smith. Patriots beat the Bills 23-3. Gronk with the late hit. Suspension. I'll get onto that later on. Dolphins embarrassed the Broncos 35-9. Broncos are just, fall from grace. The 49ers beat the Bears 15-14. Five field goals from Robbie Gould in his return to the Bears. Garoppolo got his first start in his first win with the 49ers. Ravens beat the Lions 44-20. 20 straight completions from Matthew Stafford before he had to leave the game with an injury on his throwing hand. Vikings beat the Falcons 14-9. Vikings were able to shut down the Falcons' offense. Packers had an overtime win against the Buccaneers. Titans were able to beat the Texans 24-13. Texans, terrible. Also, Tom Savage, though, had his best game as far as yards went and completions. Jaguars were able to beat the Colts 30-10. Jags are, they're the real deal this year, it looks like. And Leonard Fournette got his first touchdown since he came off the injury. Chargers beat the Browns 19-10. Huge win for the Chargers. And another big game for Keenan Allen. Rams embarrassed the Cardinals 32-16. Rams come each and every week proving that they are the real deal and that they're coming to fight. Raiders beat the Giants. Giants lose their first game against the Raiders after benching Eli Manning. Saints were able to beat Panthers 31-21. Saints are the team to beat, it looks like, in my opinion. They've got a killer running game with Alvin Kamara, and they've got Drew Brees still throwing the ball. So, Seahawks surprisingly beat the Eagles 24-10. Seahawks are still fighting for the playoffs, and the Eagles are pretty much clinched in a weak NFC East. So I'm just going to go over, a little bit about each game that I found interesting. The Jets, Josh McCown's coming out here. He's playing, man. He's a little bit older, but he's got a big arm still, and, he's doing what he can to make sure that his team can win, and, it's working, I guess. Patriots, everyone saw the late hit from Rob Gronkowski on Tre'Davious White, and that resulted in a suspension. Gronk is going to be suspended. Dolphins embarrassed the Broncos. Broncos are 3-9, but the sad thing is the AFC West is so weak right now. They're still able to make the playoffs, but they're going to need some help. 49ers, Jimmy Garoppolo was first game with 49ers with San Fran. They didn't score a single touchdown. 5 field goals, beat them by 1 point. The Ravens, Matthew Stafford, I'm a big Matthew Stafford fan. So, as seeing him get hurt, when I'd love to see him try to make some comeback, but they got embarrassed by the Ravens. Ravens got a tough secondary and tough defense, so I'm not going to put it past them that they would have won either way. The Packers, Brett Hundley finally got it done, and in an overtime win, Aaron Jones was able to rush up the left side and score an overtime touchdown. The Jaguars, like I said, they're the real deal, man. I'm not a big Jaguars fan. I'm a Giants fan, sadly. But the Jaguars, I'd like to see them do good. Tom Coughlin's over there, and he put together a pretty good team. Chargers, huge win for them. They go to 6-6, which is also that's a 3-way tie for first place now in the AFC West, which is pitiful, but it is what it is. Keenan Allen, another huge game, 140 plus receiving yards and a touchdown. Rams, they're still showing that each and every week that they're coming out and they're gonna fight. Raiders, I'll talk about that last because there's a bunch I want to talk about that. Saints, this is almost a mirror image of their Super Bowl year. They've got a tough defense, they've got a running game, and now Drew Brees is able to throw the ball to whoever he wants, pretty much at will, because they never know if they're gonna try to protect for the run or protect for the pass. And the Seahawks, they fought hard. As of right now, took the Falcons out of the NFC wild card spot, but that's all subject to change. So, all right, let me get into this Giants controversy, Giants topic, situation, whatever you want to call it. Let's get into it. So, uh, the Giants played the Raiders as I mentioned earlier, but the whole story was that they were benching Eli Manning, 210 straight career starts, and is one of the sturdy, more reliable quarterbacks in the league. Although his passing ability may not be all that, but where he's given everything he has for the Giants organization. I mean, granted, he kind of his father kind of bullied him, not bullied him, but bullied the Chargers into making sure that Eli went to New York. But that doesn't matter. We're not talking about that. Eli won 2 Super Bowls for the Giants and was Super Bowl MVP both times. He's a reliable passer. Like I said, he's got some to be desired when it comes to ability, but almost undoubtedly one of the toughest quarterbacks in the league. Takes a hit, gets right back up, gets right back in the huddle. So to have Ben Mcadoo decide that he's going to sit him, and I know that it's bigger than Ben Mcadoo. It's Jerry Reese and ultimately the Mara and Tisch family, but to have Ben Mcadoo sit him after starting off the season 2-9 at the time, they're now 2-10. They decided that they were going to use Eli as a scapegoat and say that he's the reason that they started off so poorly. That's not the case. Defensively, the Giants are good. They were good. They had a great defense last year, one of the best red zone defenses in the league. This year, they had some injuries on defense. Olivier Vernon was out a little bit. Wasn't anything too crazy though. It was no season-ending injuries up until recently, but you can't expect the defense to bail you out of games when they're on the field almost 3/4 of the game. There needs to be a running game on offense. There needs to be a passing game. That way, they can continue to have drives and move the ball and give the defense a rest. That wasn't happening. Now, was that Eli's fault? I guess you could say partially, but I wouldn't have benched him. That's not the right thing to do. It's tough to bench him when you're having so many other problems and say that he's the problem. You lost in the same week. You lost Dwayne Harris, Odell Beckham Jr., Brandon Marshall, and Sterling Shepard got knocked out of the game. He came back. He had an injury. But you lost those 3 that I mentioned for the year. You don't really have a run game. Orleans Darkwa and Paul Perkins and Shane Vereen. The committee back is not working. You started off the year with Paul Perkins talking about how he was going to be a great runner and a runner for maybe years to come, and he was a bust. Your offensive line is dreadful. But I'm going to get into that later when I'm discussing Jerry Reese. And you can't expect anything to happen when you have to throw the ball all the time. So they scapegoated Eli. They wanted to make him the reason why they're doing poorly. And I think Mcadoo knew that he was on his way out at the end of the season. I'm pretty sure everyone knew it. But to sit Eli, you just have your fan base turn on you. Now, like I said, I know it goes higher than that. Jerry Reese, was part of the decision, and even Mcadoo said that the Maras had knowledge of it and they backed him. Now, that may be true. There was a report earlier on in the year that the Mara family told Jerry Reese it's time to draft the next franchise quarterback. It leaked. Everyone knows that the only way something leaks is if you want it to leak. So the Mara family may have leaked it in preparation for they would sit Eli. Or more realistically, that they would probably look to get rid of him at the end of the year. But Mcadoo sitting him and benching him, it doesn't do anything. Mcadoo got fired today, finishing off his career as head coach with the Giants at 13-5. He went 13-15. He went 11-5 last season. Made it to the playoffs, the wild card game, and lost to Green Bay in Green Bay. And then 2-10 this season. Now, the worst possible thing for the Giants would have been Geno Smith winning the game yesterday against the Raiders. Now, that would have just said right there that Geno was able to get it done. It's a smart coaching move from Ben Mcadoo. And now we lose draft position. And I'm not one to say that we should throw the whole game or whole season for draft position. But now that the season's over, you need to think about it. So let's say that they did win that game. That would have made him 14-18 as a coach. But, or excuse, that's not true. Excuse me. Let's say they would have won the game with Eli, or, and he would have finished out the year, would have made him 14-18, because I think Eli could have gotten maybe one more win. Maybe not last week or last night, but maybe. So, Eli, let's talk about Eli really quickly. Eli's career stats: 59.8% completion percentage, 238.8 yards per game. Those are decent statistics. They're no Aaron Rodgers statistics or no, Tom Brady statistics or whoever you want to compare to him who's an elite caliber quarterback. I've never once claimed that Eli's an elite caliber quarterback. You can ask all my friends, all my family. There's been times I've called for his head. There's times that I've yelled to bench him and sit him. And I'm not going to deny that. But what I am going to say is that Eli is reliable. You know what you're going to get with him. And that, unfortunately, is poor decision making at times. Maybe a below average arm now in this stage of his career. A lot of sacks. And if you don't have an offensive line that can stay put together for him to throw the ball, then you're not going to get good results. And that goes with everyone. That doesn't go with Eli, or just Eli. That goes with everyone. If you can't keep him off his back, you can't expect him to perform for you. Now, the person responsible for the offensive line struggles is Jerry Reese. And Jerry Reese 100% deserves to be fired along with Ben Mcadoo. Let's get that straight right off the bat. Jerry Reese has had some of the worst draft picks over the last 4 years that I've ever seen. He also has had good picks. So let me say that right now. He gave us Odell Beckham Jr., Landon Collins. And for that, we cannot critique him and punish him for that. What we can critique him and punish him for is Eric Flowers, who I honestly think that my grandmother could get around Eric Flowers. And Eli Apple, who was taken in the first round, who's, he's a good talent, but I don't think he was a first-round talent, especially where he was taken. And now he would be our third, maybe fourth cornerback. So, hey, these are choices that he's made and that we got to live with. Now, Eric Flowers was drafted 2 years ago. Was just as bad last year as he was this year. Is one of the left tackles in the league that gets called for holding the most. Like I said, my grandmother could get around him. And yeah, what did we do to cure that? We did absolutely nothing. We didn't go out in free agency and try to sign someone. We didn't try to make any trades for any offensive line help. All we did was sit there and try to put a Band-Aid on the problem by getting Brandon Marshall. What did that do? Brandon Marshall dropped a bunch of passes in the first 4 games he was healthy, or first 3 games he was healthy, and in the 4th game, he's out for the rest of the season. So, the decision-making is terrible in the front office. But, we can't do anything about that now. Jerry Reese also gave us Justin Pugh and Westberg, or whatever his whatever his name is, the center. Both of them got hurt too. We're moving on from that though. Jerry Reese, it was time for him to go. Ben Mcadoo, like I said, time for him to go. Now, what did that do sitting Eli this week? I'm sure there's people that could tell you that, sitting Eli this week meant that nobody's job was safe and everyone should perform and fight and do what they've got to do. I don't agree with that. What I think more realistically what happened was they decided that they were going to make the switch at quarterback because that would I think with Eli Manning, he could maybe stumble into a victory. He could stumble into a win. You have Oakland this past week, like I mentioned, who was without Michael Crabtree, Amari Cooper, and whose defense is subpar, if I'm being frank. So I think they could have tripped into a victory. Uh, that doesn't that doesn't help the Giants' cause. They need the top two pick because the top two pick is gonna be they're gonna be quarterbacks and they need a quarterback. The number one pick is probably gonna go to well, I'm sure will go to the Browns. It's gonna be probably Josh Allen from Wyoming, and then number two is gonna be some people think it's gonna be Sam Darnold. Some people think it's gonna be Baker Mayfield. I'm a huge Baker Mayfield fan. I'd love to see Baker Mayfield in a blue uniform, but whatever people think is the best for the organization, we've got to do, and it's quarterback. Now, number three, who's going to be number three overall pick? Maybe Saquon Barkley from Penn State. Now, that'd be great because we need running back help too, but we also need a quarterback, and you got to get a quarterback now when you can. So, anyway, the Giants, I think, made that switch because they thought that Geno couldn't win. Geno and Davis Webb together, they wouldn't win. Now, once Geno put up a fight for most of that game, he had his errors. Everyone does. But when Geno had it close, come near the end of the game, I think that Ben Mcadoo was then coaching for his job. He decided that he was going to stay with Geno Smith, see if Geno could bring him to a win, make it look good on his part, and then and maybe stay in the NFL a couple more weeks. That wasn't the case, and now he's gone. So Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator, is now the interim head coach. I don't know who the Giants are going to get as a head coach, but I hope it's not Steve Spagnuolo because we all remember what happened the last time Spags tried to be a head coach in the NFL. But it's neither here nor there. They are going back with Eli Manning. They play the Cowboys, Eagles, Cards, and Redskins in that order. Cowboys, they're going to go against Dak Prescott and the Cowboys, who are still without Ezekiel Elliott, and that really hurts them because the Giants are weak against the run right now, and maybe, who knows, if the Giants could stumble into a victory right there, then that really hurts the Giants more than anyone. The Eagles, I don't see us beating the Eagles, so let's just keep it short. The Cardinals, which is, the worst case scenario the best possibility of the Giants getting a win. I think the best thing that would happen to the Giants is if David Johnson can come back and he comes back and decides he's going to play. Because, like I said, the Giants are weak against the run. The Cards, we need them to win that game if we're thinking realistically. And then they play the Redskins and hope that the Redskins, are still in the fight and they're going to give their all for to try to win and get in the playoffs. So, we'll look at the 49ers, who they play next, because, like I said, Jimmy Garoppolo's there now, and they're right now with a third overall pick, if you go by strength of schedule. So, the 49ers play the Texans, which I could very easily see the 49ers getting that win with Jimmy Garoppolo there. They don't need a quarterback. I think that they're happy with the third or fourth pick. Third pick, they'd get Saquon Barkley. Fourth pick, who knows? The Titans, which that's a winnable game right there. Whether or not they do win it, it's different. I probably wouldn't bet on them to win it, but it's winnable. And then they play the Jaguars and the Rams, which I think it's almost unanimous that they're going to lose those two games. So, the Giants really need to. Sadly, I hate to say this, being a Giants fan, they need to lose out, and you can't blame Eli for what happened, and you can't blame or what happened this season. You can't blame anyone except for the coaching staff, and the front office. They are the ones directly responsible for such a poor season, and I think it's completely justified that Ben McAdoo's gone. I think it's completely justified that Jerry Reese is gone. And the only thing that I think is that is that John Mara is and the Tish family. They're the ones that were probably pulling the strings, and now they had to get rid of both Reese and Mcadoo to kind of cover their own asses. And whatever. If that's what happened, then that's what happened, and I understand why both of them are gone. I don't think either one of them deserve to continue at their job, but anyway, well, thank you all for listening. Please make sure that if you enjoyed this, you like and subscribe. I'll be back tomorrow with a podcast talking about Lonzo Ball and different things in the NBA. Might even go into into MLB because it's another big week for the MLB as far as free agencies go. And so it's your boy Wonder Bread. Thank you all for listening. I'll see you guys later.